How does a scientist do policy? How do we do policy? How do we, in fact, put our hands on it and try to move policy? As a scientist in a policy-making position, I said, well, I'm going to build in my head this public policy experiment in action, this interface between science and policy in action. And so we built this Biopolis Amazonas as a narrative with two premises. The first one, leave no one behind. So that was the first premise, is that everything we started argumenting, any type of construction or action or public policy that we will build in the government, we should have as the first premise, leave no one behind. And of course, we also had as a premise that the socio-bio-geodiversity is very important. Bringing that together with not leaving anyone behind, we also have the question related to the different temporalities, the historical temporalities of the population. So what we did inside the government, the first thing we did was call into our partnership the UNPD and insert in all the states planning for the next 4 years, so from 2020 to 2023, every action in Amazonas state government planning is related to a sustainable development goal. All of these we structured having this narrative well established inside the government. With that, we started reconceptualizing the role of conservation units and how to protect traditional and indigenous populations. And we have in action, one is what we call the Parque Científico e Tecnológico Saberes da Floresta, which is a scientific park at a very interesting region at the frontier Brazil, Peru, Colombia. There we have 3 universities, we have 50 PhDs, we have 128 masters as professors of this university. When you have a good academic, empirically based, that can say what has to be said, it's fantastic. There was this big thing in Amazonas government to attract a private sector, which was wanting to do honey from African and European bees. The problem is that African and European bees do not pollinate native trees. They don't work in the forest, they get lost. There was this big discussion in the government about, well, the native bees, they don't have scale. Everything is like, they don't have scale. And we want to bring this second biggest industry in honey in the world. So we got this academic person, which is a specialist in native bees, and it was fantastic. She sat in this round table and she said, look, I don't know what you guys are doing. You don't know about the forest. With that, we totally transformed the policy. So we started working on native bees, and the question of this more African and European bees was left a little bit behind. And the second one is the Inova Sociobio, which is a partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture. So as a science and technology cabinet, we managed to include the Ministry of Agriculture. And this is a very interesting project in terms of science, because we want to diminish the asymmetries of information throughout the value chains of Brazil nut, pirarucu, and guaraná. And it has been a very interesting experience of how to put different groups to talk about all of this.